Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Practical Ways to Use Data Analytics and IoT to Manage Your Properties. My name is Janelle Penny. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Buildings, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to this course today. First, I'd like to review our agenda today. We'll start with data collection, then review the benefits of data for PMs and BSCs, as well as the PM and BSC relationship. Next, we'll dive into practical ways to use data to manage your properties, followed by how iSynergy and TIoT can help improve your properties. Last, we'll share a case study and open up the floor to questions. I also want to note that we've provided some resources for you under the Event Resources tab, which is located under the Ask a Question box on the left-hand side of the screen. Now let's meet today's presenters. Jeff Davis has 27 years of experience in the wireless data industry in domestic and international solutions sales, with over 35 years in the telecom industry. His knowledge and expertise allow Jeff to assist clients in driving value and profitable outcomes through adopting IoT technologies and solutions. Currently, Jeff serves as the Senior IoT Sales Specialist, Internet of Things, for T-Mobile for Business. Stephen Hatley Jr. is the Director of Strategic Accounts North America for ICE Cobotics. His passion for driving innovation and change within dynamic business environments guides the relationships he aims to establish with enterprises challenged with increasing operational and financial performance. Stephen brings over a decade of experience in facilities management. He has a wide background of operational and analytical experience to provide perspective and guide organizations through the many steps required to successfully implement smart cleaning technology. ICE Cobotics relies on TIoT from T-Mobile as its IoT connectivity and management solution globally. With TIoT, ICE Cobotics is able to connect and manage autonomous floor cleaning units worldwide. This enables its customers to make better decisions based on near real-time data, minimize downtime through remote notifications, and monitor performance from a remote location. And with that, I'll turn this over to Jeff and Stephen. Welcome.
Thanks, Janelle, and certainly good afternoon to the audience. To kick us off, it's so interesting. I read an article a few weeks ago that mentioned building occupancies increased to just over 50% in 10 major metro areas for the first time since the pandemic hit. So we recognize now more than ever, building occupancy is still quite unpredictable and potentially costing a number of property managers money as they navigate how best to maintain the spaces that they manage. So we're seeing this combination of, hybrid and remote workers returning to the office on specific days or at their leisure, which can cause some inconsistencies. There's changing needs within buildings, right? We're seeing communal spaces, spaces for concentrated work, offices or open spaces concepts. So now more than ever, data analytics can be really powerful tools for property managers looking to identify trends, improve efficiencies, and manage their costs accordingly to remain profitable. So today we're here to talk about very practical ways that data can be leveraged into actionable insights to manage properties more effectively.
One of the things that we always look at when we're talking about the data collection is we start generally with trying to understand what the business objectives are. In other words, what are you trying to achieve by improving the area that you're trying to improve? So whether it be lower operating costs or safety enhancements, you might be trying to attract or retain new clients or targeted clients. Maybe you're trying to decrease greenhouse emissions. And those are all things that we would consider as business objectives. And then as we look at the network, there's a lot of different considerations to include. Might be whether or not the application or the requirement for the network is going to be fixed, meaning in one location, or whether it needs to be a mobile type solution. Are the needs network intensive, meaning high bandwidth utilization like 4K video because you need very clear and detailed video capture, or whether it's a lower network requirement like a leak detection sensor, or maybe an HVAC reporting system. Another consideration is, is this a need just domestically for the U.S., or do you have locations that you need to manage in Canada, Mexico, or really anywhere around the globe? Are there RF challenges in your building, you might have dealt with that already, where there's issues getting to a particular part of a building in a basement. It doesn't matter what network you're on. In some cases, if you're a story or two below ground, it can be very difficult to get an RF signal down there, but we have solutions to fix that. Sometimes we talk about things like distributive antenna systems that can help that improve that kind of coverage. Also, there's other technology like a LoRaWAN that is not cellular based, but we connect it to a cellular gateway, and that allows very good penetration in challenging areas like a basement or maybe a sub basement. And then when we get to the use case, I really like to think about that as the art of the possible, right? There are so many solutions available today, and that's where our expertise comes in. We'd like to just engage in the conversations. What does the perfect solution look like to achieve the business objective that we talked about earlier? It could be individual sensors. It could be a network of sensors. It could be a gateway solution where there's only one cellular connection, but all the different sensors report back to that gateway. Again, I talked about it might be a complete cellular solution, or it might leverage a combination of cellular connections and something like a LoRaWAN technology that gives us that further building penetration, or even a Bluetooth low energy solution, or BLE you might hear it referred to as, for very small tags. If it's a piece of equipment that you're trying to track, but you don't have the kind of real estate on that piece of equipment to put a larger sensor on it. So T-Mobile and our solution ecosystem really brings the kind of partners together that can enhance the overall solution set to solve nearly any problem that you're going to run into. The importance of the data and the growth of this space. There's no secret that devices are becoming smaller and more powerful and less expensive, connected by networks that are more cost effective. They provide better coverage and exceeding the capacity of many of the wireline networks that we're used to traditionally using, especially with our 5G technology. So because companies are realizing real world ways to use this technology, that's why you're seeing this explosion of growth. You can see on the slide there almost 4 IoT devices per person, and those aren't all cellular devices, because IoT devices aren't necessarily cellular. Sometimes they'll connect to a Wi-Fi network. Sometimes they'll be cellular, and there's other technologies as well. The key is that I think what's driving the growth here is it's no longer just technology for technology's sake. It's people are getting real results, saving money, and or becoming more efficient in the way they're conducting business through these tools.
So for the audience, Jeff just covered a number of ways in which companies are now able to collect and aggregate data, which can then be presented to various stakeholders that might manage day-to-day operations within a building. So to build on that, we wanted to talk through the benefits of not only collecting this data, but again, how it can be translated into actionable insights that might guide better decision-making for property managers. So first, data can improve overall visibility into one's property, and especially powerful if you're managing multiple properties from afar. And this can be as simple as reviewing metrics that confirm, whether or not paper towel dispensers in a restroom were restocked, or if a floor was cleaned the previous night. So with improved visibility into what is taking place, or perhaps what is not taking place, our clients are able to create new standards and improve their processes based on analytics that they might be receiving real time. So in turn, this allows them to improve efficiencies, schedule tasks during optimal times, optimize labor streams to meet demand, or in some cases, actually build out a case to automate those tasks and ultimately lower costs. So, we thought it was relevant to take a moment and recognize just how important and dynamic the relationship is between a property manager and their building services contractor if they outsource the cleaning of their facilities. So, since the beginning, I think this introduction of smart devices, enhanced visibility into the operation, and even automation has created a very fluid environment where the question continues to pop up around, who owns the data? Is this going to hurt or help day-to-day operations? And will it have a larger impact on the relationships in place today, managing this scope of work? So we recognize just how fragile this space can be when introducing and implementing IoT devices into really any environment, but also just wanted to call attention to just how critical it is for these parties to be on the same page when it comes to leveraging data and reports together to improve the facility and overall building health. And especially for our audience today, as the property manager, you should be collaborating with your supply chain. And I encourage you to take the mindset, with your partners that, the harder you look, the better we look. At the end of the day, this is all about collaboration, leveraging data in positive ways that can confirm scope of work, direct resources where needed, and ensure that the client is getting exactly what they're paying for by confirming as much as we can with objective data-driven results, such as, again, how much square footage was cleaned or the time spent performing that task, and whether that's whether the spend on that task is optimal. So the first tip we want to comment on is creating clear goals and processes by which you can leverage data and connected devices. So for example, all else equal, let's assume you have several connected devices within a restroom that monitor consumption of soap or water or paper towels. When you review this data across multiple locations, you might better understand high traffic patterns or surges in occupancy over time, which might lead you to reallocate when and how you deploy efforts to clean a particular space. Or to take it a step further in our world, when you might deploy automated cleaning solutions to help augment labor efforts after a spike in foot traffic in that particular area of the building. So tip number two, the second one we would throw out there is how to utilize data in a way to build proactive maintenance plans or minimize downtime when there's a mechanical or an electrical failure. Again, be it something attached to the facility like lighting or HVAC components, or smart tools that might be utilized inside the facility, such as an autonomous cleaning device. I'll throw out an example. When there's an electrical component that fails inside one of our autonomous scrubbers, it actually triggers an alert and a specific description that will be communicated to the maintenance technician that will ultimately be dispatched to the site to make the necessary repairs. And so since that technician is proactively informed and aware of the issue that he or she might be fixing, we're hoping to minimize downtime for that unit so that building cleanliness isn't sacrificed over a great length of time. Similar in common to, I think, what the audience is probably trying to achieve with smart tools implemented in HVAC and lighting.
Thanks, Steve. I wanted to touch a little bit on our third tip, which is the using data to reallocate budget. So I wasn't surprised, frankly, to see that HVAC led the pack in our pool because they've, pretty much adopted some IoT characteristics quite some time ago, and I think it was a big area of savings and something people could gravitate to pretty quickly with time of day and day of week and occupancy. But there's a lot of other areas that I think you might want to consider, and those are things that we could help collaborate on as we engage in a discussion about how we could best meet those business needs that we talked about earlier. But you talked about the lighting and the HVAC, water management systems. There's also a plethora of other things. One of the things that's coming into play quite a bit right now is the heat maps and occupancy, where you can really fine tune the utilization of the building. So, are you cleaning buildings that don't need to be cleaned because the occupancy is low? Are they visiting the restrooms and other areas that haven't been used at all because a floor might not have been utilized very often? So these monitors can really provide a lot of insight in terms of what the traffic is, where people are congregating, what parts of the facility are being used and which ones aren't, which could maybe not eliminate, but focus your time more importantly on the areas that are being used versus the areas that aren't. There's also other technologies, everything from air quality monitors to leak detection. So for preventive maintenance, and there's literally thousands of devices that can be used in buildings to help with that whole PM experience. Even things that you wouldn't think about, like if you had a rodent problem, even connected devices for that. So you know when a trap has been set and when it's been triggered. So really encourage a robust conversation about that art of the possible in terms of what kind of business challenges you have and where we can bring technology to help enhance that and allow you to use that budget more efficiently.
So I've made references kind of throughout this discussion about our equipment fleet being connected and IoT ready, which is possible because of our proprietary software called iSynergy. This fleet management software is included in all the machines that we design and manufacture, and it gives our clients real-time transparency to track and monitor their fleet, including our latest autonomous scrubber that we recently launched, Kobe. But beyond data that simply tracks, where the machine is or how much square footage it cleans, we really prioritize our efforts to deliver an actionable insight we refer to as Clean Score. Quite simply, this metric gives our customers an instant score of whether a simple task, such as cleaning a particular amount of space in a specified time, was met or not. So by pushing this metric to our clients across one or multiple locations, we're actually trying to give them a really simple, almost kind of scrollable experience on their smartphone to monitor what's getting done, where they might have missed scope, and ultimately where they need to redirect their efforts and, again, maintain a profitable operation. And we also know that implementing smart devices such as, again, autonomous equipment, for example, comes with a lot of change to manage. It can be certainly be intimidating when there's so much data at your fingertips, right? And this is why we provide ample training resources, virtual aids, and we've actually even invested in what we call an automation specialist. So think of this as kind of that business coach or inside consultant that's going to sit with our customers to map out goals and hold everyone accountable to acting on the data that's collected day in and day out from our fleet to better manage the operation.
Steve, I'd like to talk a little bit about how IoT makes data easier for you and really your day-to-day life easier. So the solution set sometimes can be intimidating, and what I want to really drive home to everybody is this is not a sale like a wireless handset or something like that. When we come in to talk about these kind of solutions, we're bringing the entire solution suite, consulting with you on how that solution can be, or your need could be met through one of these solutions, helping design, onboard, and train folks and how to manage it. So that whole life cycle experience is what we're really focused on, because we need to have an exceptional customer experience, as you can see on the slide, at the end of the day. And that means that the data has to be easy for you to use and absorb on a day-to-day basis. So, whether it be needing that real-time data or a SIM management platform where you can see what your usage is each month, all those types of things we will incorporate into the overall design and solution and make sure that it's easy for you to manage and take the value of that data and apply it to your business.
So I think in closing, I always like to share real stories from folks that we have the opportunity to work with, and we're very privileged to partner with a group called LEDEC, who provides technical services for the automotive and manufacturing industry. And since partnering with us, they've implemented a number of our machines, and we're actually one of the first companies in the IFM space to adopt Kobe, our autonomous scrubber. And as you can see from the quote from Chris here, they're able to not only track where Kobe is running and areas that have been cleaned, but they're able to monitor the actual usage of the machine and where they've increased frequencies of clean over time, making for really just a much more enjoyable and objective way to articulate clean to their clients.
Great. Well, thank you for that informative presentation. You can see from the slide, we are now beginning our question and answer session. So if you haven't done so already, please submit your questions in the Ask a Question box, which is located on the left-hand side of your screen. One thing I'd like to know, personally, can you explain a little further how you see IoT and data analytics as being essential to that BSC and PM relationship?
Yeah, Jeff, if you don't mind, I'll kind of kick us off, and please feel free to weigh in. But again, I think this goes back to a much larger topic, especially kind of post-pandemic and just the world we live in today, where we're so used to having reliable data at our fingertips. I think about in the consumer world how much we're surrounded by it, day in and day out. It's just no surprise that it's the natural transition into the business world, so to speak. Ultimately, especially when we talk about the property manager and BSC relationship, it is so important that we focus a lot of our time and discussion around answering a very simple question: is the work getting done? Yes or no? I think that's kind of the main question or driver that we deal with the most. So again, in our world, we focus very heavily on one part of the scope of work, cleaning your floors. But if we can stabilize that and confirm clean, again, with real-time data, allows our customers to focus on a myriad of other initiatives or challenges that they might be facing on a day-to-day basis. Jeff, you want to add anything?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there, and the different tools that we have available to you can, and it's going to depend on your specific building and what your situation is, as to what need we're trying to help you understand better through that data. And it might sound a little abstract, but when we engage in a conversation, about that specific issue, whether it's what the building usage is, or when that usage is, and how often cleaning events need to take place, I think the more data you have around that, and then also preventative maintenance solutions to monitor power, water leakage, those kinds of things can also help improve your overall efficiency.
This next viewer wants to know, if I'm a PM, why should I concern myself with the types of equipment that my BSC is using to maintain my properties?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'll start by leading with, if I were in the seat of a property manager, getting into the details of what equipment one of my supply chain partners might be working into their scope, it could be so far downstream that, we get it. A colleague and I actually a couple weeks ago spoke on this topic at a conference, and we don't expect you to. Rather we encourage you to ask the question. Well, first of all, back up and look at the total spend on just perhaps your cleaning contract in general. What steps do you have in place today to measure whether or not you're getting the utmost value out of that spend or in that cost per square foot? A lot of times people get lost. This isn't a, hey, am I getting a good cost per square foot? That's a benchmarking exercise. You can solve that through an RFP exercise. The question is, for that cost per square foot, how do you know that you're receiving all the intended value that you're supposed to be getting contractually? So to oversimplify it, right? If I was a cleaning contractor and walked up to a giant facility with a mop and bucket in my hand and gave you a cost, you would probably look at me like I'm crazy. Right? There's smarter, more efficient tools out there that exist today to tackle this job in a more efficient manner, both operationally and financially. And so as we automate certain tasks and we evolve just the way in how we achieve clean, the question or what we're encouraging isn't necessarily to get into the minutiae or weeds of controlling what equipment is used, but simply asking that question: what smart tools are in place today to make sure that you are tackling this in the most efficient manner?
In terms of IoT connectivity, does it matter who the service provider is, and what makes one service better than another?
Well, I think it certainly does, because coverage is king. You need to make sure that the provider has coverage to be able to serve your needs, but also that depth and breadth of ecosystem partners that I talked about is equally as important, because that allows us to have the the total solution package for all the different things that you might require, and one building can be completely different than another in terms of what its use case is and what problems you're facing there. So I think the two things is the overall coverage of the macro network or the cellular network, and then the other solutions that we can bring to solve not only from a use case perspective, but also coverage in areas that are tough to reach. So having a responsive team that's going to look at those kinds of needs and work with the ecosystem of partners to deliver that overall solution.
How do you see autonomous equipment making an impact on the PM business when compared to non-autonomous equipment?
I think ultimately it's consistency. It's making a bigger impact in terms of keeping properties cleaner, more well-maintained. There's less frustration for managers dealing with labor issues. But make no mistake about it, it's a complete restructuring of the workforce and redefining people's roles. We encourage training long-standing employees to work with sophisticated equipment, which is why we call it a cobot, right? It's in our name, it's in our culture. It's how we elevate the role of today's janitor into future occupancy that's hopefully more attractive for the future workforce.
Great. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions. A big thank you again to our partners today, ICE Cobotics and T-Mobile for Business. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. Have a great day, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.